Welcome to NewsShowTV, Look Algarve TV in Lagos, Algarve, across the marina. And today I'm really overwhelmed and a way to looking for the start. There's so much exciting things to talk today. And it's not only in general something, it's something what touches me too, out of different time frames. Has to do with music and actors and some locations. And as you hear, I want to say we have an open studio here, a glass studio in Lagos, right on the hottest spot in Lagos, where sometimes the police, the ambulance comes by, so we have a feeling like on Times Square. So, and we're not hiding this, I love this, and we're right in life. And life, I think, is a good word to start with my guest, Petty Farmer. Welcome.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I am overwhelmed to be here. It is such a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And yes, I feel like I'm in the middle of Times Square.
Right.
You know, we have the cars,
yes.
We have the excitement.
Yes, and we have New York behind us.
Absolutely, the Chrysler Building.
Yes, and the whole scenery, the bridge and everything. Yeah. And that's the reason why Petty has a close relationship to New York in different ways. Mm-hmm. And we split the interview today. We start here in the studio and then we go to a wonderful place with a wonderful view. Petty lives in Portugal now, but to that point we come later. Now I want to know a little bit about the exciting things. So many stars.
You know, it's work.
yes.
It's just work, but luckily my work is so much fun. You know, I do many things, and one thing I do is write. You know, I'm an author. It started as a hobby during the housing crisis. I don't know
absolutely.
If you know that.
Oh, absolutely.
Nobody was doing anything. I'm a businesswoman, and nobody was doing business.
Yeah.
Nobody was even talking about business.
Right.
And at the time, I was fortunate enough to be living in the Plaza Hotel. And I don't do well with time on my hands. So I started exploring the hotel and looking at all the nooks and crannies and the exciting venues they had at the time. But not only that, also what they had way back when.
Right.
The Plaza Hotel's 100 years old.
Yes. And you owned an apartment there, so you lived there. That was your home.
There. And
wow.
I would see Kate Hudson and Anne Hathaway filming a movie there. And, you know, they'd pull up a chair and the producers would let me sit and watch Bride Wars being filmed.
Wow.
And I sat next to Lance Armstrong because he was dating Katie Hudson at the time and he was also watching her film.
What for names? This is unbelievable. And you put this in the book?
I did. I put it in the book. I actually did a whole book about movies being made at the Plaza.
I have it here. It's incredible. I've been through, and I'm a great fan of all these names. They are in here. It's incredible. It's really incredible. So that's really something. And when you read the names from in that book and in the Persian room, what happened all there? All the stars. There was everybody was there. Yeah.
It was. I found out through exploring that in 1934 there opened a nightclub in the Plaza Hotel. It was called the Persian Room, and it was every big star of the era that you could think of that performed there. You know, a lot of names you might not recognize anymore, but we had Patti Page, we had Jack Jones, we had Frank Sinatra, et cetera, and it was through many generations.
Right.
You know, 1934 to 1975.
75, Shirley Temple.
Yes.
Nobody from the youngsters will know the young lady, but she was a great, and the old blue Spanish eyes guy, Al Martino, and everybody everybody was there. It's
Everybody.
incredible.
You had comedians,
Yeah.
from Kay Ballard
Yeah.
to dancers. Back then
Yes.
dancers
Yeah.
used to be a thing.
A couple, wonderful couple. They did the comedy dance and stuff
Right,
there.
and,
Yeah.
Marge and Gower
Yeah, right.
Champion, who were big stars, and I became personal friends with
Wow.
Marge. And
Oh, wow.
it was Marge Champion, I'd go to her apartment, just have tea there, or she'd come to my apartment, and she'd tell me about, she is a lot older than I am. You have to realize that.
Don't worry, don't worry.
We lost Marge 2 years ago. She was 105, though.
Wow.
And she would tell me about Nureyev, coming
Absolutely, yes.
and hanging out at the house and, going places to other nightclubs with them.
This is amazing.
And that's what I love. I think I was born out of my generation because that was cool, old Hollywood, and finding out about that, becoming friends with Marge or Celeste Holmes, who is another name that people might not recognize, but a big star, Academy Award
Winners, yeah.
And sitting and having tea. And I have to tell you a quick story.
Please. We do the show all 5-6 hours, so don't worry. Stay tuned.
But I was having tea. Marge came over to the plaza, and we decided to have tea in the Palm Court. So we were having tea, and Marge's husband was there too, who was about 40 years younger than her. But God
well,
bless her.
yeah,
Good for her.
absolutely.
So we were having tea, and we spotted, like across the little corridor, Aretha Franklin.
Oh, wow.
And when she had come in to have tea, she had her entourage with her. She had Clive Davis, who I recognize, and Aretha, and a couple bodyguards. And so they took a table way back there. But I saw how this progressed. I saw Aretha look, and she thought she recognized, not me, but Celeste.
Ah, okay.
And Celeste was elderly, and Aretha got up from way back there and walked, and everybody in the tea room was like, "Where's Aretha going? What's she doing?" And she came over to say hello and give her regards to Celeste Holmes.
Wow.
And of course, I was introduced to her.
Yeah,
And she sat down, and I invited her. I said, "Why don't we have your friends come over and we'll have tea all together?"
Wonderful.
And I won't tell you what she said about her friends not joining us, but things like that happened all the time.
You interviewed a lot of people, or?
I interviewed over.
How did this start? So you went to the plaza, you lived there, and you found out that there was the club and all these people. So you started be more and more interested to hear. And did you contact them? You called them, or?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I found out there was this nightclub,
Yes.
Virgin.
Yeah.
And what I did was I went to the administration office, and I said, "Can I just look through your archives and read about it, see who was there?" And they said, "We don't have any archives."
Wow.
And I was like, "The Plaza Hotel, you're 100 years old. This is like 2007.
Yeah.
And they said, "No, we had a lot of owners. The Prince owned it, and when they leave,
Take the
they
stuff,
took what they wanted. Donald Trump owned
Yes,
for
I know.
a while, and we won't go there, but so there was really no archives." And that's when I put together a research team. I'm really big on research, so anyone who reads my books can be assured that facts and figures, I'm not infallible, but pretty much there. So I put a research team together and found out all the history, and that was great. And but I wanted more. I wanted to really feel what it was like. So I was just naive enough.
Well, that's important. If you think too much before and think it's maybe not possible, forget it. You just it's great. Yeah, just go for it.
I think Dieter's not going to talk to me, you know.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Why not,
Yeah.
you know. But,
Yeah.
So there were people, I found out who were they. And some didn't have agents.
Yeah.
They, you know, I had to hunt down phone numbers or addresses
Private, yeah.
even, you know. So I was in California. I was on the 405 freeway, which if you've ever been in California, it's a horrible 12-lane freeway.
Yeah.
And the phone rang. And of course, you're not supposed to answer the phones, but
That's right. Yep.
I did. So I answered the phone, and this voice said, you know, is Patty Farmer there? And I said, speaking. And she said, this is Leslie Gore.
Wow.
And, you know, again, we're going back a few years,
Yes,
but
right.
she was, you know, she was a big singer, girl singer back in the day. And she said, you sent me a letter, and I'd love to talk to you. When are you in New York? Let's go to lunch. And I became friends with Leslie. She was my first interview.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, it progressed from finding out about performing at the Persian Room.
Yeah.
We found out about her battle and winning sobriety. You know, she was very open about that, and how she wanted to open an alpaca farm and
and retire. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, you find out things like that just from talking to people.
It's incredible and if you out there, the audience, know something about the Persian Room, you open for have personal stories. Maybe somebody
I
has
love
something.
personal stories.
Yeah.
I always encourage that. Get in touch with me. Get in touch with TV Algarve, and they'll hook us up. I'd love to hear your stories. People are always telling me their parents got married there, or they saw Carol Lawrence's performance, or they were proposed to.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear your story.
Wonderful. So you just call in and we refer this to you. But all these fantastic names and the movies they were in the plaza. I was many times in New York. Had a lot to do. It was my favorite hotel also, going there, and the Central Park and to the zoo and everything. And but it's just a tiny part of what you're doing. You're doing so much, and I just was informed. I didn't know before, but yes, that's great. Yeah, congratulations. It's a gold medal for?
A gold medal for the book, Tea Under the Palms. And I'm just very honored. My publisher called just a few days ago, and the American Book Association gave me the gold medal in my class for culture and
it's beautiful. And it's not only you have recipes in there, very nice things, nice pictures, and people can get this over Amazon or
okay. Barnes & Noble, Portugal. I'm having a hard time breaking into bookstores, so I'm told.
Yeah.
But you know, many other countries.
Yeah.
I think Germany. They can.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. This is so. And another capital. What about the Playboy? The Playboy laughs and the jazz and swing Playboy book.
Oh, you weren't kidding about the 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's
Playboy for many hours. And I have to warn you though, when I give speeches or talks, I always ask my audience. I say, who's here to hear about the Playboy bunnies or hear about the centerfold? And you always have people raise their hands like, I want to hear about the centerfolds. And I'm like, you know, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the music and the comedy and the comedians and Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
So
this actually, Hugh Hefner changed all the jazz and swing things.
Yes.
This was a big movement.
It was a big, well, with Playboy swings,
Yeah.
I think what I brought to light was everybody knows about the mansion.
Yeah, right.
Which is fun and it's great.
Yeah.
And I've been up there many times. I've had dinner with Hugh Hefner and his wife Crystal and done movie night. But what people don't realize is the contribution that Hugh Hefner made to integration. You know, we were, at this period when Playboy opened, we were in segregated America. You know, where black performers could not perform in white clubs or in front of white audiences. And Hugh Hefner, not only with his magazine, but with his whole philosophy, was a renegade. And he only cared about who could sing a great song, who could tell a funny joke, or who was interesting. You know, so he integrated his stages in all the Playboy clubs.
Gave the room to do it. The opportunity.
And, I write in my book, you know, many interesting stories told to me by black performers, really big black performers who said, you know, this is like new. This is, you know, even you know, having, I'll tell a quick story.
Yeah, please. That's why we're here. That's what I love to hear.
There was a black performer, and they tried to head him off because, you know, they weren't crazy. The management wasn't crazy. And the white performer that was supposed to perform backed out, but he called this black comedian, and he said, "Can you fill in for me?" He said, "Sure enough," you know, and he went, and he just ran through because he was running late, and he jumped on stage, and he looked out, and it was a very, I don't want to say tough, but certain type of a gentleman, you know, and it was a meat packers convention.
From
southern Georgia. And anybody who knows the States knows the South was very segregated. And so they did give him a lot of trouble. And in the beginning they said, you know, we're from Georgia. And he started winning them over. You know, he was telling jokes. He said, I was in Georgia 1 hour, you know, and telling jokes. And finally, many hours later, the head of the club ran over to the mansion and woke up Hugh Hefner, said, you have to come to the club. And he goes, why, what's going on? And he said, well, you know, the show only runs 45 minutes, and this guy's been on 4 hours. They love him.
See?
They won't let him leave. And that story is replicated over and over again by just putting the best performers on. And, you know, also not only putting the best performers, but allowing people to become the best performers.
You know, giving the stage to, like, so important. There are so many talents and people out there, but they have no room to show. That's a beauty to do this. It's I was 1981 and 82. I was with Fats Domino in Stuttgart and Sammy Davis Jr. And we had a lot of talk. We were out dinner and a friend of mine was a friend.
You had him on the stage?
He was on the stage in a concert hall in Stuttgart. He made his tour and everything, and a friend of mine was a school friend of Sammy Davis Jr. And so we went out for dinner and even we did some stuff together. And I played with Fats Domino a little bit, and unbelievable. And then I saw Fats Domino back after Katrina in New Orleans when his house was swamped away and they rebuilt it a little. Yes. So I saw him and after many years again, and it's incredible. It's incredible. People, they really shaped the music, the world with all their talents, and went through difficult times and really had no easy. A lot of people gave up and would giving up. So this is amazing but it's so close, or you feel that it's like you're there all the time, and when you see the people and then you see them on screen or somewhere, it's close. It's very nice. It gives a certain feeling, especially when you're in a certain age. The youngers, they have different things, but in in our age, we look to other people. And I lived in Charleston, South Carolina, so one of the plantation was from Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
They filmed there. Yeah, they filmed there in Atlanta. And in Atlanta, they did inside the stuff. And the Boone Hall plantation in Charleston, South Carolina, was the way with when the cottage was going down.
How
Unbelievable,
exciting.
absolutely. And when you walk there,
You know, people ask, they go, why are you interested in, Hollywood and movie stars and jazz musicians?
Yep.
And I'm like, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
And then when, like an experience that you had, you get to sit down and, a meal with them, you
Right.
realize, they're kind of like me.
Yeah.
But in my case, they have a lot more talent.
Well, everybody has his own talent in different ways.
Right.
There is a lot of shy, very shy. They don't want to go on screen. No problem. They're there.
Right.
But then disappearing. Some they want to be on stage all the time, and so like everybody else in their own world. But it's great to see and communicate and see what they think and their individual talent. And that time there was no AI and nothing.
They
so
didn't even have
you
Instagram
blow
to,
exactly.
post.
Exactly. Yeah. Louis Armstrong singing and playing the trumpet.
Right.
He had to do it. Was no artificial thing to do it for him.
Exactly. And that was another brilliant thing with the Playboy clubs. You would have people like Louis Armstrong. He'd have a big concert, and maybe he wouldn't have another big concert for 8 weeks
Absolutely,
or whatever. And they would tell me they would go to the Playboy club in between and work for
play.
2 weeks.
Right.
And it was another paycheck to bring home.
Absolutely.
Nobody, believe it or not, was becoming millionaires by, performing a few times.
Right.
So that was people like Joan Rivers.
Yeah.
She told me she started at the Playboy
Yeah.
Club.
Yeah.
And it allowed her to learn timing and, just
All the
perfect
skills.
her act.
Yes.
And Jerry Van Dyke,
Yeah.
another,
Yeah.
Dick Van
Yeah.
Dyke's brother,
Yeah.
told me, what was his quote? He said, the Playboy clubs gave us the opportunity to be bad and know it and improve our act.
Perfect. And go out there
Right.
with
And then Jerry
the performance,
evolved and became a big comedian. He had many TV
Right.
shows, coach, and everything else.
It's-
It was an exciting time.
Absolutely, yeah. I would love to, even Victor Borge with his shows, and incredible performance with an ease.
They made it look easy.
Oh yeah, it's hard work, but it looks, and that's the beauty, and that's the hard work, to make it easy, and in the performance, moving the stuff around, interacting with the singers, making jokes, and but having this voice and this talent, and just to play and
Amazing. He was amazing.
incredible.
Talk about feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think about him, and you always want to be able to play like that or sound like that or come up with the quick, retorts. But
Yeah.
he was just brilliant. A really good friend of mine, Lainey Kazan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you.
I need her name. Yeah.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I mean, she was,
Yes, right. Yeah.
she was in many movies, but she's a really good friend of mine, and she brought up that point. She was on the Dean Martin show and Johnny Carson, and she said every single show it looked like so easy.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're not feeling well, and you don't call and cancel Johnny Carson.
No way. Exactly.
You put a smile
To go.
on.
Show must go on.
And exactly, that's the way it was. Not so much nowadays.
No.
but,
It's
everybody-
more my headache.
prima donnas and
Yeah,
and that's a double entendre, prima donnas.
well, yeah. Too early sometimes, but it goes while the audience. You have the chance to spread that quick, but it goes quick down. So not this years building up all your backbones and all the hurdles and what you face and for an artist, doesn't matter which kind, even if you paint, you cannot talk about your product or your skills and tell people, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. There's always somebody on the other side. Doesn't matter if it's for honorar, for money or whatever, saying, oh, you're not the best, I can just pay half and stuff like this. And that's personal. So therefore, a lot of people need really agents to do this business and all these things. And the Playboy Club, so there was not only one Playboy Club, there were all over the place. 44, Chicago, New York, everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Even, excuse me, outside the United States.
Yeah.
Hugh Hefner was very good friends with Ian Fleming.
Yeah.
Because when Ian was starting out,
Yes.
Playboy magazine serialized, I think it was on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Right, yes.
And so Ian became more well-known, even writers.
Yes.
And they maintained a really good friendship. So when Hef wanted to open a club offshore, he asked Ian, just like a buddy, like, hey, where do you think a good place? Where should James Bond be next?
Yeah.
And he said, James Bond always liked Jamaica, and so Hugh Hefner opened his first offshore club in Jamaica.
Perfect.
And, it was very successful.
Absolutely.
And, so it was, I hope I'm not getting too excited.
Please, go.
Love this era.
Yeah.
This era of glamour and James Bond and
Yeah.
Playboy.
Yeah.
It was culture.
Absolutely.
It really was
Absolutely.
a cultural, even going back to Playboy and jazz,
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Hefner took jazz from just a dance music to a concert music. He had the Playboy Jazz Festival where people sat in chairs and listened to the performers. When in 1957, it wasn't that done.
Absolutely not.
To pay money and sit in a chair and just let Louis Armstrong
play,
sing for you or play, his horn or any of the other greats, Sarah Vaughan, and they were all wanting to hang around Playboy. It was exciting.
Sure.
Even by the time I wrote my book, Hefner was older, he was married, and I loved hanging around the mansion. You can't just go and say, I want to hang around the mansion.
Right.
He has to invite you.
It's not open for public.
Yeah, exactly. But I always felt so honored, and the more I wrote about it, the more, that door was open for me.
Wow.
To find out, and we had, John Lennon when Beatles in New York made that big appearance, where all the girls started ripping out their hair and going crazy. They asked the guys, they said, what do you want to do during the night, right after the Ed Sullivan Show? And John Lennon said, I want to go to the Playboy Club.
Yeah.
I've heard so much about the Playboy Club. We have to go to the Playboy Club and listen to music and look at the bunnies. And he went with his first wife, Cynthia, and I think I even have pictures.
Wow. This is amazing. And there is a James Bond hotel in Estoril.
No, I did not.
It's one of the first movies they showed, and it's in Estoril. It's the big hotel there. And there even a playbook, the whole scenery. A friend of mine owns the huge book for the whole setting, for the whole thing. So you have to go there once.
I do have to go
it's a really exciting atmosphere there too. And I think we make the cut here and we go to a nice place together. Is this okay for you?
Good.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We're coming back in a couple minutes. Thank you very much. Patty, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Welcome back. And now we're, let's say, it's a kind of home story, and we really enjoy this. And Patty is still with me, so we're in your home.
My humble abode.
Yes, it's beautiful. We're on top, we're overseeing everything. And I like, in that situation, I like to go a little bit deeper in why Portugal and how this came along. It's not, well, everybody speaks about Portugal in the moment anyway, the last couple of years, very in favor of a lot of people around the world. But everybody has his own story. And maybe we have audience out there, they thinking, rethinking, not knowing, and maybe they get something out of it. Yeah, how do you came along with...
It again, it was one of those things. You know, part of what I do, I'm a businesswoman, but part of what I do is international real estate investment.
Oh, okay.
So about 8 years ago, Portugal started popping up on my investment radar.
Oh, okay.
I'm the geek that does the numbers.
Sure, yeah, check it, yeah.
You know, ease of entry, tax brackets, you know, how many people are working, that type of thing. So I decided it was a good place to invest. And I found some buildings that were, well, in the States we call them pre-construction.
Yes, right,
and off-plan. That's what we call it here in Portugal, off-plan. So I contracted to buy them. And as an international real estate investor, as I said a few minutes ago, I do the numbers. And I actually rarely see, you know, go and have to look at it because, like I always say, you don't want to get personal.
Right, yeah. You have to distance, yes.
You find a house that the numbers work, you go look at it, you go, well, the driveway's cracked, and, you know, this and that, and you talk yourself out of it. So typically I don't go and look at what I'm buying. But for some reason, I came to Portugal. I know the reason. The real estate company was having a boots, they call them boots on the ground.
Yeah, right.
And they were hosting a weekend.
Okay.
A free weekend.
Yes, well, wonderful. Welcome to Portugal.
So I came, and second half of that story is my dream. I've always said I wanted to live in Europe. You know, and so I came, I looked, Portugal was beautiful, and this was 6 years ago. And, you know, I had to talk with myself, and I said, if not now, when? You know, we all have these dreams, what we want to do, and then we find we're 105 years old and we haven't done
Exactly.
So I decided I'm a businesswoman, I can run my business from anywhere, I can write from anywhere.
Right, absolutely.
And why not write from looking over the water?
Right, perfect.
And here we are talking 6 years later.
Wow. So that sounds very interesting. So normally you're not going to the places. So that was more or less by accident, or was this a feeling to have a look?
I think it was by accident.
Yeah. Okay.
I think everything is maybe by design somewhere.
Yeah. Right.
You know, cosmically.
Right.
You know, what's the line? You know, we make plans and God laughs.
Absolutely.
So,
very hard sometimes.
Okay. So here I am, and trying to learn the language.
That's hard.
Portuguese is tough.
Yeah.
Very, very tough.
Yeah.
But I'm trying.
But they are so friendly, they always help out with English, and that's a big problem. They jump in immediately, and I try since many years, but it's not working. They come right away, and even I'm German. Some of the people, they were with their parents in Germany when they worked for a company, so they even try to get their Germans out and try to talk in German. So it's very hard, but when you do it intensively, maybe it works. You will.
Well, my experience is when I try to speak Portuguese, first they laugh at me, and then they go into English.
But here in the Algarve, I think, and even maybe you can state this, they eat the last sentence of the thing. So they expect
just
you.
drop it off.
Yes, yeah, and and then you don't you don't know what to answer. But that's great. But we're getting there sooner or later. We try hard. We try hard. So, but real estate investment. You wrote the books. You saw all the stars. You interviewed the people. You've been with Tony Bennet, and so you have this close contact and this feeling, and you are in fashion. So the Lim College in New York.
Right. I'm honored to be chairman of the board.
Oh wow.
So and that's a funny story because I moved here, and I thought I'm going to start downsizing what I do, and I thought maybe I'd resign from the board.
Okay.
And then they pulled me in.
Yeah.
It's like that Al Pacino movie. I thought I was out, and they pulled me back in. And they asked me to be chairman of the board. And LIM College is an international college. We have Japanese partners and French and Italian. So it's an honor to be chairman of the board. But it's a lot of work.
Oh, always, yeah. Do you have to go to board meetings? Okay, yeah. So you fly over and come back and okay.
It's fashion.
Yeah, right.
So again, I love interacting with the students there, and I'm old school. My fashion's like Oscar de la Renta and Chanel.
Oh yeah.
And now, some of the fashion, even though it looks like grunge, it looks like you're homeless. You spent $500
exactly,
on that outfit,
If you have more holes in the pants, it's more expensive. Yeah, it's a lot of work to put the holes there. So it's more labor.
Yeah. Right.
I produce fashion. I produce jeans and stuff. But if you sandblast, if you have to, it's more work. It's in the end, it's more work to make it look like used. And we bought a lot of already used one in Arizona and stuff, and brought it to Europe. So they were original used. But if you make it look like used and stone washed and all the stuff in there and different colors, it's a lot of money more. Yeah. So and what's the age of the students in the school?
Actually, it's been going up.
Okay.
So we have traditional 17-year-olds to graduate students, even going up to 40.
Well,
which is not that old. I don't want to make it sound like that's old. But for a student,
it's more second career.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And fashion's evolving so much. There's so many careers.
Right. Yeah.
In multimedia,
absolutely.
in social media, in luxury branding, in international relations.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Yeah.
I feel again blessed that I can indulge all my interests. Fashion,
and knowledge.
writing, show business.
It's all one. It's one limelight. It comes all together, and you enjoy it, and with music and all these things. This gives really purpose to do things, and when you can transport this to youngers and even to olders, there's so many older than me people out there. They did a lot in the past, but music always makes them move. And if you have opportunities to transport this and help the young ones, and maybe combine this and bring these generations together, to fashion, to music, to the books, to stories, a lot of stories in your books with all these people, and so I'm really amazed how this comes together. So you very busy, are?
I'm not going to say no.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not going to say no.
No.
Not busy.
Yeah.
Yes, I am busy.
You have time to enjoy sometimes.
Yes,
just
absolutely.
the view and the location you're living.
I think you had told me at one point that sometimes you just put your chair and face the water.
Right.
I find myself doing the same thing.
See, it's so relaxing, and a lot of new ideas coming up. You have time to think, and wow, this is. Hey, I think, Patty, this was amazing. I loved it, really.
I love you visiting. It was so terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything, and I could chat with you for days and months and on and on.
So we do a second part. We have to make another Yeah, with some
that
new story.
to
We
be
put,
continued.
wow, wonderful. Hey, that's a great
Life to
great
be
end.
continued.
Yes, that's a wonderful, great. Yeah, and thank you very much for opening your door for us to all this and the stories. And I definitely want to hear more stories, and I think the audience too. I really appreciate. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigada.
Thank you very much. I hope we did this right. So we have Portuguese here, and the doorbell is ringing, so that's live. Somebody is coming, visiting. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend.
Thank you
And
so
we
much.
see you soon. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. See you next time.